Ordinarily, the psyche can't appreciate what is covered up, particularly with regards to issues of the hidden world that we are totally uninformed about. Falls with them in issues uninformed about him is crucial. Exceptionally alarming, shocking tales. The narrative of a young lady who chose to think of her entire story so others would realize what befell her, and that certain individuals wouldn't commit like her error and become powerless against the other world. At some point, her dad purchased a lavish house like the castles of the rich, and it is bizarre that it was not costly. The young lady credited the justification for this to the way that the house is deserted and needs a ton of fixes, as the walls contain canvases in splendid varieties, however they are eroded. Dream house depiction. It comprises of 2 stories. On the main floor there is an American-style kitchen, a space to get visitors, the parlor and the lounge area, which has an exceptionally huge table as though lords and rulers were perched on it to eat, a rich exquisite restroom that actually stands out in its most memorable condition. Concerning the subsequent floor, it contains 3 rooms, every one with its own washroom, and on the rooftop there is a little and extremely gorgeous room, as its roof is made of glass. Maybe the proprietor of the house was partial to watching the stars of the sky. Concerning the nursery of the house and its tremendous region, there are 2 front gardens brimming with blossoms, however they need managing and enhancing its view, and one more behind the scenes with an immense tree that appears to outlive the house, hanging with a lovely swing, and there is likewise a spot for the vehicle and a wonderful lake with water reasonable for showering. Life is ordinary. The review began and everything was normal to no one's surprise. The young lady made in each distinction of the house an enclosure with birds, and the view was astonishing, giving a feeling of mental solace, which was reflected in her review and fast obtaining of data in record times, and there was a little room in the house containing fixed devices and gear of this sort. The young lady needed to utilize that room and make it her little realm, however she delayed the execution of the thought until the center of the school year so as not to occupy her from her examinations. The start of the issues. At long last, the getaway that the young lady was sitting tight for came to do with her what she needed, and during the readiness and fix of the room, the young lady found on the back wall weird and startling drawings structures will seriously affect the people who see them. There are hints of blood and written fingers, however a thought rung a bell, so she chose to photo and put it on her social site to terrify her companions, and sooner or later she totally disregarded the subject. She began considering and her companion came to her to concentrate together, and assuming it was late for them, she would lay down with her in her room, which she calls my realm. At some point, in the wake of wrapping up examining, the young lady needed to watch a thriller. While watching it, the young lady and her companion chuckled insanely and kidded interesting jokes on the individuals who feared comparative films. Out of nowhere the young lady heard a voice coming from the lake before the room, so she kept intact and professed to dare to track down the wellspring of the sound. She went out with her companion, and afterward the young lady, the proprietor of the house, envisioned that there was somebody in the lake, yet when she coordinated the illumination of the electric light at him, she saw only a tree limb, then went into the room and she and her companion rested. Detestations of an unusual world? In the first part of the day, the young lady went to the college as expected with her companion, and when she returned, she found her dad telling her that she had not seen a dead feline by the entryway of her room. So she chose to go to the kitchen to get some hot espresso to complete what was left. However, on her return from the house she saw an individual at the lake and thought it was her dad and went to him to ask him for what good reason he remained at that inconvenient time alone, yet she didn't track down her dad, yet found a consumed individual whose highlights covering and horrendous failed to really understand who his face, yet his eyes Al-Jadton blacked out. A throbbing painfulness. The young lady awakened and wound up in her dad's room and he asked her for what valid reason. She let him know what occurred, yet he credited it to her weariness with work, and afterward the young lady began seeing him at whatever point she shut her eyes and nodded off to awaken from the aggravation of what she finds in a fantasy and track down hints of consumes on her body. the young lady chose not to rest once more and was occupied with her companion on person-to-person communication locales, and on one event she found a man professing to peruse odd compositions, so she recollected the bizarre words, so she sent them to him and promptly requested that she meet him for need, and when they met, she let him know all that occurred with her, and when he got some information about her companion, she let him know that she had 2 days, she didn't see her, so the man chose to go to her since she was at serious risk. Without a doubt, when they showed up, they smelled a fire and found her companion consuming in fire. The man called the rescue vehicle, and when the young lady was going to go with her companion, he halted her, telling her that they had an obligation to save her and save her companion. Unimaginable occasions. The man advised her to delude her dad to get him out of the house so that nothing terrible would happen to him like her companion, and to be sure the young lady prevailed in that, and when they got back, the man mumbled odd words on the young lady after her, and when she awakened she ended up in a similar house. However, it appears to be unusual and the tree is little in the actual lake, and found somebody running towards her and he goes into her room, and when she addressed him, he didn't respond to her, and afterward numerous young fellows pursued him to follow him, yet he had locked the entryway of the room on himself, so they set the room ablaze, and when they attempted to put it out, they proved unable, and inevitably the fire was smothered, yet he was at that point totally consumed. It is that man, the person who appeared to her ahead of time and consistently attempts to hurt her in her rest, is as yet alive. Yet these individuals attached him to a branch, realizing that he is alive, and tossed him in the lake until the hint of their wrongdoing is no more. Utilization of wizardry and black magic. His dad came and didn't track down the child and realized what had befallen him from the unfeeling individuals, so he chose to recover his lost child, so he composed those peculiar things on the mass of the room, which the young lady had perused, so she called that soul to show up once more. Everybody around him accepted that he was spooky by spirits until her dad leased him, and afterward the young lady awakened and the man got some information about the area of his body, so she highlighted the lake. Yet tragically he doesn't swim in the water and the young lady fears seeing him again with that monstrous sight, and in the end she recovered her solidarity and accumulated her solidarity and went down to the water and found him. She pulled him, the man covered him, and afterward life got back to business as usual as though nothing had occurred.